This is amazing crowd. This is absolutely incredible. I know the biggest attraction is the food and the beer, but nevertheless, we are incredibly impressed. There's got to be at least 100 people here. This is probably maybe our largest single town hall. Let's just go out on a limb and say this is the largest gathering in the history of Grayson County. And Galax and Karen. So I'm really delighted to be with you all. I'm only going to speak very briefly. My wife Laurel is here in the crowd somewhere with me. We're looking forward to just chatting with you all and mingling. This is probably not the setting to do a Q&A. So instead, we can do that one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-three. And if I can get the first beer in me, I'll be way more lucid in my answers, I can assure you. So, you know, this is a very exciting time. And every one of us, I'm sure, wakes up every day kind of feeling like it's the best of times and the worst of times. There's no doubt about it. The intensity of the bad things has probably never been greater, for many of us at least, in our lives. And the threats we feel to the fundamental threats to our democracy, the erosion of decency, and the sort of pitting people who are struggling against other people who are struggling, which has become the absolute strategy of the right wing of the Republican Party. It has got to end. It has just about brought the ruination of our country. And I tell you, of all the places to turn that around, of all the places to try to find common cause, of all the places to realize and recognize that we need each other to build prosperity and rebuild our communities and our economy, I honestly don't think there's a better place and a place that's more ready than the 9th District of Southwest Virginia. And the reason for that, I think, is two or threefold. One, we've been through adversity before. And we have been through it enough, and we haven't always come through it in the best possible way. But whether you're talking about the Pittston coal strike of 1989 or 1990, when you're talking about the workers in the town of Dungannon that rebounded after a plant closing in which the workers got literally no notice and told to go home on the day of the plant closing, whether you're talking about the revitalization of communities all across the Ninth, like Galax, with the most unusual suspects. Who would have, a decade ago, thought that craft breweries would be the epicenter of economic revival in small, rural, religiously conservative towns? So we know in this district how to come through adversity, and at some level at least, we know that we do that much better when we do it together. We know that the whole idea of rebuilding our community rests in rebuilding our capacity to help each other. So for that reason, I believe the 9th District is ready not just to tag along with the blue wave. I'd be thrilled with the blue wave. We're going to have a blue wave. But I want to do more than be the tag along, the unlikely winner in a blue wave. I want to lead a wave of rural progressive people who are committed to rebuilding prosperity that is truly broadly based, truly durable, where people don't have to choose between themselves and their neighbors, between jobs and the environment, between business and unions and workers. I think we can lead that rural progressive wave and actually begin to change not only the 9th District, that's the first priority, but Virginia and the United States of America. We can do that. And the way we do it is with a kind of pragmatic radicalism. The radical part is that we're going to return this district and the political discourse to what I lately have been calling the greatest commandment of our democracy. Now, many of you, I'm sure, were raised in Christian tradition as I was, and you would know that the portion from Matthew, when one of the disciples asked Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? And he says, well, there's two. The first is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind. And the second, which is like it, is to love your neighbor as yourself. And then he says, upon these two commandments rests all the law and all the prophetic writing, which is to say, if you want to claim the gospel or God and you get away from that fundamental commandment of empathetic love, then you got no business claiming the gospel. Right. Like Jeff Sessions saying that it was the gospel to separate families at the border. Yeah. We have a greatest commandment in the scripture, but I believe we have a greatest commandment for our democracy. And it's a very simple proposition, and it is that all of us, specifically all of us, irrespective of our economic status, have the same right to choose our representatives, and beyond that, the same right to make the laws that we live by. That's our greatest commandment. And by God, have we strayed from that with this Supreme Court, this Congress, and this White House. Yeah. What we need to do is we need to get out there and talk about the greatest commandment of our democracy, that we're all equal, that we all have the same shot, and that we have to rebuild that sense of shared community, shared opportunity, and shared possibility. And we do it starting by rebuilding our communities, rebuilding our economies as we're doing here, and rebuilding the infrastructure that enables prosperity. That's why I'm running. That's why I can get up in the morning in the face of the nuttiness, the insanity, and the obscenity. I can keep getting up and keep fighting because I honestly believe we can do this. Yeah. Now I'm going to tell you one last thing, and then I'll let you get back to your beer and food. So here's the deal. We can win this race, not just in the mathematical sense of it's possible to win. But we know now from a strong primary, as Rick said, where not only did I win the primary, but we got, of all the votes cast on June 12th, 45% were Democrats. Democrats haven't been anywhere near 45% for several elections. We've been mired in the low 30s. So we boosted the turnout. And now we have a poll that was just done by a firm out of DC that says two things. One is that my name recognition has more than doubled since 2012, up to 61%, which means, as Rick was saying, it means that all of your work, the letters to the editor, the town halls, the door knocking, the phone calling, the giving walk cards to neighbors, all of that is not just working a little bit, it has worked. Yeah. So that's the first thing. And the second very exciting piece of news, keep in mind when I ran in 2012, at this point, actually a little later in the campaign, in August of 2012, I was 21 points behind Morgan Griffith. Now, at the end of June, we are within single digits of the Republican incumbent. And it's because of you all. And those of you that haven't been involved, it's not because of you, but it will be because we need every one of you to get up and work for this. It's going to take all of us. We need a lot of money, and we need every bit as much people power. That's how we're going to win it. So I am just thrilled to be here with you. I am so pleased and grateful to all of the organizers that made this possible, the brewery for opening this up. Honest to God, folks, we can win. We all know we gotta win. So let's get out there and do it. Thank you. Yeah.